Hello, everybody. This is Nannette Kennedy with Humanities Team and the Evolution Revolution. And this is our weekly book discussion group. We are reading and discussing The Storm Before the Calm by Neale Donald Walsch. And we're going to get started here in just a moment. Oh, let Sarah. There's Sarah. Hi, Sarah. And welcome, everybody. And for those who are listening to the recording, that's just yay. Anyway, Linda, I don't know if you want to go ahead and start or you want to wait till your computer finishes rebooting.
No, you need to start the discussion without me for a minute.
Okay, I'm going to start the discussion,
Go for it.
Nannette.
Go
Thank
for
you.
it. You bet.
Neil's been whining in this chapter about how there's too many rules and the rules are all wrong. That's basically what it is. And of course, he was happy to show that he couldn't care less about the rules. But I found a book which is so amazing. It's a bestseller and it's called something like Angry Queer Somali Boy or something like that. I started it yesterday. And in that book, this man breaks every single imaginable rule as well. And I believe that that's the way of the future, is the new world we're building is going to be exactly the opposite of the whole lot of rules that Neil's been complaining about. That this process of redefining God is well underway.
I like how you sort of break that down, Shavana. Um, the funny thing, and maybe it's because of reading that chapter, is this past week I was thinking about how, excuse me, we all, we all have so many rules. Like we make rules for ourselves and for everyone else. It's like life is all these rules. Do this, don't do that. And then we make them up for ourselves um, and other people and expect them to obey our rules for them when half the time we don't even obey our rules for ourselves. And the other thing I thought about a lot this week was a fuller range of expression. Like if we came here to be divine beings expressing ourselves, then yeah, I agree with you, Shabana, that getting rid of most of those rules, I would stick with the rule of be kind, don't hurt people if you can help it. Like don't hurt people on purpose, basically. Because we all hurt people, but like try not to do it on purpose. And yeah, that's what I was thinking about, the fuller range of human expression, where guys can wear skirts if they want to. Women have had a lot more freedom in the areas of like clothing and emotions, even though we're often judged for our emotions, like all the female things that are seen as weak, but at least we're allowed to have them and do them more now. I mean, I remember being always told I was too sensitive as a child. Anyhow, I liked how you broke that down and I was sitting here thinking I don't remember the chapter from last week, and I forgot we were supposed to discuss, so I didn't look at it. So thank you for, you know, jogging my memory. Over.
Yeah, it's a real relief, Mary, to see how much better the world is compared to the way it used to be, simply because no one's going to put up with it anymore. And particularly in the Catholic Church or in Muslim societies where the rules are like, they're just so all encompassing. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about a miserable life.
My parents, you know, I was raised in the Catholic Church. My parents were not your typical, what you might think of as being overbearing, sort of, with the rules. My parents were very laissez faire. And when I was arguing with my mother about things that were in the New Testament about how women were supposed to be 3 steps behind the man or whatever, and um, she just always said, as long as you believe that Jesus is the Savior, it's okay. It's like how to keep me on the path as long as she could when I was, I wasn't really a very rebellious little girl, but I sure was rebelling against what I was being told in the church type thing. Over.
That actually reminds me of um, children, because they are so innocent by the fact that they're children. Most of the time they're innocent. I've caught my kids with the hands in the cookie jar before, but they're innocent. And I loved it when Casey, my youngest son, was going to a Catholic school. And it wasn't so much because I wanted him in a Catholic school, but I didn't like the school district that we were in. And he would ask the priest a question that would stump the priest. Like, the priest was talking about how there is no such thing as reincarnation. And Casey's hand shot up in the air and he said, well, what about Jesus coming out of that tomb at Easter time? you know, and the priest didn't know what to say to him. And so the priest would call me like, oh, maybe once every 3 or 4 weeks and say, your kid cracks me up because he asks me questions that I don't know how to answer. And anyway,
Well,
so
at least he had a sense of humor.
yeah, he did. He had a really good sense of humor. Like, he just called me going, he did it again. And I go, now what? And he would bring up something that
Well,
Casey,
Casey's very smart. I
yeah,
mean, what's he like now?
who, Casey,
What's Casey like now? Yeah,
he's,
Casey.
he asks a lot of questions. He's still very inquisitive. Um, he's also um, fairly well read, and he's yesterday, for instance, I put up a quote, Winnie the Pooh quote, on the Facebook Humanities Team Facebook page, and it was Piglet asking Pooh, "How do you spell love?" And Pooh says, "You don't spell it. You, it's something you do." Is the gist of it. And Casey responded um, and said that he thought that a better answer from Pooh would have been the word you. How do you spell love? He would have spelled it YOU. So I thought that's the kind of things Casey comes up with.
That's
Now,
an Ubuntu. That's like an Ubuntu response.
yeah, it is. It
You
really.
know.
And I was very impressed. I was like, and that's my son. That was my comment. No, it wasn't. I'm just being funny. But anyway, um, let's see. Now, is your computer working again, Linda?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know my internet here is sketchy. So sometimes I break up and freeze. And um, Linda, did you have anything you wanted to say about what we read? I've got to find that page.
Well, I wanted to respond to something Mary said earlier about hurting people, and I missed the conversation because I was on the phone with a customer, so it's out of context. But I just want to remind us that unless we are intending to hurt people, like hitting them or being mean with our words,
Right.
it's important to allow the people to own their hurt. Right? We don't really, outside of what I already said, purposefully hitting people or, in physical harm, but if we say something and it hurts the other person, that's not our fault unless we intended to do that. But if we just say I've said things, I remember, I'll never forget this. I said something once about doing my first husband's laundry, right? I said something about the condition of his underwear. And apparently I was just like making an observation. I wasn't criticizing. I was not being mean. It was never my intention to hurt him. And yet whatever it was that I said, he claimed hurt him deeply. And he carried it with him for years before he ever even brought it up and mentioned it to me. And in that case, that's like he chose that hurt because it was not, and he blamed me for it and he became a victim for it, but it was never my intention. I was not being mean. I just made an observation. I thought that it might, I don't know what I thought at the time, I guess. Because when I found out about it, and this is what happens a lot of the time in relationships, a lot of the time you don't find that you hurt the person for months, weeks, months, years sometimes. And it's important if you're the person feeling that way, that this person hurt you, to realize that we each have a response to what's happened. And that we can consciously choose to change that response. And that's where our growth comes from, right? That's where introspection comes from. Does that make sense,
I
Mary?
understand that and I agree with that, but I also think that we have to think of this situation where that person is hurt and they do tell you they're hurt. And then even if your intention, in that case, my intention was not to hurt, I need to be accountable for the fact that my acts unintentionally hurt someone that I care about. Now, if they don't tell me, then, pardon my language, but fuck it, because how can you be accountable when you don't know it happened? And that's what you're talking about. And so in that case, absolutely. And so here's what happens with me. When I'm hurt, I go, ooh, I'm hurt. And I'm not an instant responder. I have to kind of sort through what's going on and what I'm feeling. And I look at what part of this is me being me, and I am ultra sensitive, and I know that, and things hurt me a lot that shouldn't. And then I look, well, am I taking something personally that I shouldn't? And if I can't process through it on my own, then I'm like, I guess I have to talk to the person, because I don't want to carry that burden and I don't want to have that thing in between us. Like, if you don't process it, it will be a burden on that relationship. And I have learned that the hard way, as your husband may or may not have done. And you certainly learned from him. So, then you have to take, it's still taking responsibility for how I feel to say, look, when you said that thing, it really hurt me. And can we talk about it? And in my case, usually all I need to hear is that wasn't my intention. And then I'm like, okay, fine. Or, process like how you might communicate better in the future so that, but yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I think there's an additional piece, which is that if I hurt someone I care about, even if it was an accident, if I want that relationship to go on, you can't just say, well, I didn't mean to hurt you and, that's all on you. You have to be willing to be accountable for how your behavior affects another person, even if your intentions were good. That's how I see it.
I think that's a really good example, Mary, and as was yours, Linda, and it reminded me of the time when I got in this new coat, and I can remember where I was exactly, and where my husband was sitting, and I tried on this new coat, and it was camel colored, which is not really a good color on me. It drains the color from it pulls any color I have out of my very white skin. And I asked my husband, I said, I know this coat makes me look kind of pale, but do you think it makes me look fat? And my husband said, that's a no-win question. Because I'll say, no, I don't think so. And then you'll say, are you sure? And then he goes, well, it does make you look a little, and so it's like there's a no-win situation in it. But I think as we age, we get to this point where if I don't want your opinion on my clothing anymore. I've gotten to an age where that's so sad, too bad if you don't like it. And so, anyway, what you said, Mary, just really resonated with me, because if I do hurt somebody's feelings, and I would never purposely hurt someone's feelings, but if I hurt their feelings and I'm unaware of it, I can't even discuss it, where I could even say, well, I apologize, I didn't even know I did that, or whatever it is we say. So I think that's a good point. Over.
I think it's important to remember too, like the things that keep coming into my mind are a couple of things. One is back from that psych teacher from my 101 class, where we talked about this, and then also Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 agreements, because although I understand the point that Mary's making, I don't resonate with it at all, because technically there isn't anything out here, right? We are the creators of everything in the hologram that we're experiencing. And so first of all, like what I was taught years and years and years ago by that psych teacher was not to say, you hurt me, because unless it was a physical, thing, but with words, when you say to someone, your words hurt me, or that hurt me, you're declaring victimhood. You're making the choice to be the victim in that statement. Whereas if you say, I feel hurt in response to your words, now you're owning it. Now you're taking responsibility for the experience. Because as much as we want to blame other people for how things are, ultimately we can't. Because if everything is divinity, then the very first thing that each of us should be doing is allowing and accepting of the moment, and then the processing. So we have a whole planet full of people that don't use their words well. We walk around saying, you hurt me, you did this, you did that. Everything is in a confrontational kind of language instead of ownership language. And then we don't know how to process our feelings and our emotions, our hurts. So it's an incredible discussion because it's all things that just desperately need our attention and our healing.
I think that's a very good point. Language has so much weight to it, just by, instead of saying you hurt me and changing it to I felt hurt, I'm taking the responsibility for, I like the way you put it, Linda.
Yeah. I'm watching the chat. I love this. Nannette's new coat would make a good book title. Her husband could have just said, it's a beautiful coat and you always look beautiful to me. See, I agree. That's you know.
Yeah. It's
And
awesome
to
book
tie
title.
it into Don Miguel Ruiz's, don't make assumptions and don't take things personally. Those two lessons right there. So many times people's words get taken personally when if you just use that rule, there's so much comfort and relief that you can find just in that one rule or agreement.
Yes, I agree, and I love that idea of your husband could have just said, "You look beautiful. Hi, Anne. You look beautiful, and the coat's beautiful, and you're always beautiful to me." Is a languaging I think we all need to be more aware of, because our intention, at least for me, if I hurt somebody, it's never with intention. I might be mad at somebody for one reason or the other, but my intention is to let them know that I'm not happy. It's not an intention to hurt them over.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying, Linda. I just think that if I'm in a relationship with someone and something I say or do hurts them, even unintentionally, if I just say, oh, well, you took that too personally, and, if I'm showing insensitivity to their feelings, that's not going to be good for the relationship. That's what I'm saying. And I feel like if you're building a relationship house together, you have to take each other's feelings into account sometimes. I'm not to the point where I never take things personally. I know that I should. I just think that you have to allow room for human beings to be human and still on their growth path and not there already in terms of accountability.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But yes, we all have to be accountable. The hurt person and the person who's like, oh, I didn't realize that. So anyway.
I like the Catholic belief that, well, first of all, getting back to what the two of you said, Linda and Mary. Yep, my peace, my alignment is my responsibility, and victimhood just makes me sad, not the person who did it. So the Catholic belief that I want to talk about, which has always inspired me, is that I give up my suffering for the salvation of sinners. Like, I might be completely wrong. Maybe I'm triggered, okay? But then my self-righteousness kicks in and I say, well, this person who did it needs to be saved, and let their evil intention be transmuted by God Himself to be a healing and a blessing and a mercy to this person. So before I started reading Neil's books and learned about the rest of it, I used to find it lovely to go into self-righteousness mode, because then I was such a hero in my own sight.
I actually, that was very well said. I actually think, because that's a private moment between you and God, Spirit, Love, the Divine, where you might say, I pray for that person, that they will not be so grumpy or whatever it is.
Wicked, wicked.
Wicked. Okay, we've gone from grumpy to wicked.
I never said grumpy. I always said wicked.
Oh, I know. I'm saying for me, because I use the word grumpy.
Well, I'm judgmental. You're not.
She just judged me.
I told you so. Where are the rules? Let me break them all.
Well, there's that too. But I think if you do have in your, I know the Catholic thing is hard. That happens to be, I think, a big part of the thought processes of people that are in groups like this. And it's where you think to yourself, I'm just going to shoot blessings towards them. You know, just blessings, blessings, blessings. And instead of that person, I just wished I'd never met that person, you know, to get involved in that kind of stuff, which is unhealthy for the self. And I can feel energy. I'm sure most of you can feel energy. So I think it's better if we, in our minds, just silently in our minds, say, bless that Shabana. She is just such a problem sometimes. But if I say I'm blessing you, then that's much better for both of us. What was that?
Me.
Oh, wait a minute. There's somebody in the waiting room. It's Anne. The other Anne, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
Well, yeah.
Hi.
See, this is the thing, is that Shabana's a pest, and let's bless her, because there's nothing else we can do with her, you know? I mean, it's against the law to do anything physical, right? So, well, that's the recourse. But the main thing is that when we start praying for someone, we've suddenly gone in the different, like there's a fork in the road, and we were choosing the judgment, and now we've decided to bless. It makes us feel better. But what Neil didn't mention is that the Catholic belief lines up to a certain extent with the mystical belief, which is also similar to Jesus's crucifixion, which is, I will take the sins of the sinner into my body. It's the vicarious atonement.
So now what I want to say is, all this talk about sins, first of all, just is a huge turnoff to me. And the second thing is that, again, you're focusing on the person. And if we listen to what Linda said, what matters is not the person. What matters is our response to the person, right? What I tell myself is, when I get triggered or when someone pushes my button, they didn't install the buttons in me, you know? And so that's where I start, is with what's going on with me. Why do I feel triggered? And instead of doing your thing, which is turning from judgment to blessing, where you're still basically assuming that there's something wrong with that person, so you're blessing them, that's when I go to the Ho'oponopono thing, which you do, you know, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, but you're not really saying it to that person. You're saying it to the way you feel about that person. You know, because a lot of people are like, I don't want to tell that person I love them, I forgive them. It's like, that's not it. It's like the hurt part of me that's responding to that person is what I then work on. So, thank you. Oh.
So Mary, why did you have to take it to a higher level?
Because that's just who I am. And I'm going to say that I do think there is one sin, and the only sin that I recognize is unlovingness.
Yes.
So let me share this. Oh, go ahead, Anne.
Sorry, I'm intruding, but I realized lately, you know, somebody's triggered me a lot, and I felt bullied in work I was doing. And, you know, I'm not good with forgiveness at all. I'm no good with that at all. I think I do it, but I don't do it at all. I'm still thinking about it, right? So what I've realized is, what I've realized from what I was taught by someone is that when we ignore someone, you see, I used to go around ignoring her because she got angry with me really quick. But ignoring her is like cursing her. So I never saw it like that. So that's my part of it. That's created all this anger. So that was like an education to me. I can't go creeping around pretending they don't exist. I know it's me not being able to handle it. The level of anger that I was experiencing, I couldn't handle it. So I'm creeping around, which is driving her mad because I'm ignoring her. So, but I didn't realize I was giving off that kind of negativity. So now that's an education to me, and I'm grateful for that education. And you know what? I think when we do have difficulties with people, it is an education, isn't it? These are the educations, aren't they? About ourselves. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's like Neil says, your life's not about you. Your life is about everybody your life touches and how you touch them. It's, yeah. So I just wanted to share, because Shabana brought up Catholicism and the Catholic Church, that I'm going to put it in the chat, the link to Pope Francis on October 3rd issued an encyclical letter, and it's quite long. It's eight chapters, but the thing that I find very sad is that it has not gotten any press. There was an article in Time magazine that somebody in a different circle luckily shared, or I don't think any of us would even know about this right now because it's not made the news. And the thing is that it is truly newsworthy, because in this 8-chapter letter, Pope Francis talks about love in a way that is, I think, new. And the most bold thing that he says in this document is that the Catholic Church can no longer support war of any kind. of any kind. And always in the history of the Catholic Church, they have justified war. Other religions have done it as well. They've justified war. And it is absolutely worthy of being shouted from the mountaintops that the Catholic Church, one of the largest, if not the largest, I haven't looked at the numbers lately, organized religions on the planet, has come out saying there is absolutely no way to justify war of any kind ever again. And in this encyclical, he really calls out love, unconditional love, in a way that is very modern, and the language is very easy. I encourage everybody to copy the link or to look it up and read this document, because it's awakened. It's an awakened document. Like, I'm just scrolling through it, looking for chapter headings or subtitles, and here's one: A Love Ever More Open. He just, open societies that integrate everyone, inadequate understandings of universal love, beyond a world of associates, a universal love that promotes persons. It blows me away, and it is incredibly encouraging, and I think it's really sad that it isn't getting more attention, because I think it's super important. So I just wanted to share that since Shabana brought up Catholicism. Over.
Yeah, I've seen excerpts of it in different places, two different excerpts, and they're both like stunning. I have not yet read the whole document because it's long and I'm, short attention span. But like, what I've read is just, it's mind blowing from the Catholic Church or any like hierarchical organized religion. And you can totally see why a lot of conservative Catholics hate that man and why people like me and Linda and other people who might have been raised Catholic and left it are like, wow, it's one of those signs. There's things going on, that are really providing hope for the new era. And it's like, thank God, because I sure need the hope.
Were you raised Catholic, Linda?
No.
Okay.
No, in fact,
Mary said you were.
I didn't really mean that.
No. Yeah, she said she was, and maybe I was, but I was not. No, I was raised.
Because I was going to get you to be fired from the reading position.
If she was raised Catholic? I've read sometimes, and I was raised Catholic. But it was okay because I'm just like the alternate.
Well done, Mary. You and Neil, and I guess Anne and Nannette are okay then.
Yep. I think one of the things that's very interesting, since we've brought up the Pope, I think that Pope is something else. I have very high respect for him, and he's very forward thinking, and is very much about compassion and love. And it's like, there's not a lot of times over the years where I felt about saying, well, I'm Catholic, because I didn't want to hear anybody criticize me. And I'm holding the popedom. I feel like the church is making a positive turn over.
For example, chapter 5 is a better kind of politics. He talks about that. He also talks about I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it quickly, but he talks about personal property. And I mean, it's the kind of thing, if you were familiar with what Andrew Yang's platform was, it's in alignment with that, right? A universal income, that because we know that what's going on this planet right now isn't working in terms of capitalism, in terms of ownership, in terms of all this stuff, in terms of money. We know that something new has to happen. And that was what Andrew Yang's political platform was based on. And this document has elements of that woven into it as well. It is, I cannot tell you how amazing this document is. And I've got to agree, Nannette, I am over the moon. For someone who is really anti-organized religion, I gotta say, he's like my new hero.
I think that's what I was trying to include Linda in with me, anti-organized religion.
Right.
And I have, this Pope from the beginning has shown that he has different ideas, and he's, every now and then people would share something and I'd be like, oh, I guess I kind of like this guy, But you're absolutely right. This encyclical is like, he's doing it.
Yep. Yep.
What I understand about unconditional love is that we need to install it for ourselves first, have unconditional love for ourselves, and remember it for ourselves, and then we'll be coming from a place that has already installed the unconditional love that we are, because we are love. It's a wonderful thing to know, isn't it? Thank you.
You're exactly right, Ann Darby. You're exactly right.
It really is a wonderful thing to know. And it's transformative, like once you know that you are unconditional love, yes, we install it, and then it's like this program that kind of takes over in a good way, right? When you understand that you are unconditional love, and so is everything else, even if they haven't like installed the program yet or turned it on. We all have the program. They haven't like flipped the switch, but it makes it much easier. And to speak to the forgiveness thing, which you mentioned earlier, Ann Darby, it can be hard. And I am sort of like, I consider myself a master level forgiver. I've done a lot of work in that area. And basically, it's for me. Like people out there are like, but I don't want to forgive this or that. And they don't have to. But for me, if I'm holding a grudge, I cannot rest. It's like the princess and the pea. It's like this thing jabbing at me, making me miserable. And why would I want to be miserable? It's like that thing of drinking the poison yourself, hoping it will hurt the other person, right? So, yeah, I've done a lot of work on that. And I think I had a point. Maybe it went beyond that. But, when we recognize that it's all love, we're love, they're love, and nothing really is ultimately personal. Like we might have to do our work to get past that hurt, but it's made a huge difference becoming the ultimate forgiver. Forgiving the person who will never apologize because they don't think they did anything wrong. And it's not about them, it's about me having peace. Over.
Well,
Beautifully said, Mary.
yes, it was. And it makes me think of how many times, and it happens more frequently as time goes on, but people whose children have been murdered or family members been murdered, and they couldn't go forward without making the effort to forgive the perpetrator and say, you know, I can't live, it's too much energy, because it takes a lot of energy to not forgive, to stand up there with that feeling of, you know, you made me mad 10 years ago. Excuse me.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry about the interruption.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, I think it takes a lot of effort to not forgive someone, whereas to forgive someone and you do it from your heart, and it's not just some words. I think that you're doing yourself a great favor. Over.
I suppose I'm realizing the unconditional love for myself, forgiving myself for taking offense at something. It's just something in me that got triggered. So it's a way, something I can explore and give thanks for it. Maybe the gratitude, give thanks for this sort of pea that is an irritant, but sort of like is drawing attention to something I was kind of blind to before, I suppose. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Thank you.
That's beautifully said, and I appreciate it.
Yes, beautiful. And that's the way in which everything is a gift. That idea that nothing is happening to us, everything is happening for us, you know, to bring attention to something in us that needs healing, right?
And the next problem will be how to cope with all the peace that brings.
You crack me up, Shavana. Since we're close to the time of the meditation, I want to bring up real quickly, and this is just an idea to mull over. If you choose to read the encyclica, that might be something very interesting as a group and have conversations about it. So, and that's just throwing that out there so that maybe when we're finished with the storm before the calm, maybe we do read that. I mean, it certainly can't hurt us. It can only benefit us. And I'm not so Catholic that I'm going to feel guilty that we're not reading Neil if we choose to do that. Over.
I'd be up for it. I've actually thought about doing it myself, like shooting videos, reading it.
I love
because
that
it just
idea myself.
it blows my mind that that it's not gotten any traction in the news. I mean, maybe Catholics have heard about it, but
I'll ask my
I don't
sister.
know. It just,
Although she hasn't been
yeah.
lately because of the COVID. So, and with all the Trump and election, it's like nobody's paying attention to this.
And what a more perfect time to pay attention.
Maybe we should like all commit to sending it to like our elected representatives or something like that. I might try that. You don't got to, but
Well,
that might be a good thing for me.
I think so, and I'm going to post it on the Humanities Team worldwide Facebook page, and see what
The article was wonderful because the article actually talked a little bit about St. Francis and how he came to pick the name, because he named himself after St. Francis of Assisi, and St. Francis of Assisi was a very humble monk who believed in peace and love, and he was very humble, and so when the current St. Francis released this, he went to Assisi to do it on October 3rd. Very powerful.
He was also really into nature, which is really
Yes.
important. Brother, sun, sister, moon, you know?
Yes, yes. Yes. And Pope Francis has really taken his name, and by taking his name, he's taken all of that very seriously and embraced all of that. And he and I share a birthday.
Well, see, there you have it. There you have it. And when is that birthday?
December 17th.
Oh, it's before you know
He's
it.
considerably older than I am, but yeah.
I don't think I would have known that had you not told me. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do the meditation. And remember that we do a moment of silence after Shabana does that. So if everybody would go on mute if you're not on mute.
Lord God, this is a wondrous occasion for us to combine our spiritual strength to further the healing of every human heart and, of course, our planet. Pope Francis is not any different from any of us, but he's got the power to influence the world. We're all hurting because of climate changes beyond our scope, or so we think. But here now, we're trusting that your mercy, which transmutes every miscreation, every mistake, everything which is an attempt to deny love. We believe it, and we're doing it here now with the power of God, who is love. This is our prayer demand. Heal us, heal our planet, and make us as kind and generous as you are. Amen. Okay, everyone, the vibration is out there.
Thank you. That was very nice.
Very exciting because this is the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I just realized that when we love, love can achieve everything, actually. Anything is possible. Everything is possible.
Yes. I just posted the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi into the chat box for anybody who's not familiar with it.
I love that prayer. Thank you.
Prayer. I accidentally sent it
Oh,
to you
lovely.
privately. But yeah.
Okay.
Bob Larrick, if I could thank you for your loving spirit. And then I just came from another organization, Institute for General Semantics, which they feel we're overly judgmental, and the importance of a more empathetic, they didn't say loving, but empathetic, loving sense of self and a consciousness raising they are about. And so thank you for your love, empathetic and trying to be more responsible and civil in difficult times. and how important that type of spirit is for a better world.
That's low ambition, Robert. But
We need, and also they brought up, and also we brought up in a discussion anyway. Another gentleman also felt that religion was much too controlling. I could add harsh and evil in certain respects, not just the Catholic. I have a Catholic interfaith marriage. The priest.
Part of the discussion.
I'm sorry, but it's we need a more loving and forgiving religious. They say that, but repentance and loving and responsibility. But we need more humanism in religion, and which this other group I was saying, we need a more ethical, rational, humanistic, religious state and humanistic state, and that they're also focused on, whether they realize it or not, consciousness raising for self-improvement, not manipulation.
Linda, can you put that in the chat window for the encyclica? Because Robert's not going to be able to see it since he came in late.
I apologize. I between my wife and other things.
No, that's all right.
There it is again in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
And that's what we're talking about, reading the encyclica
This
from
is
the
the
Vatican.
Pope's Ecumenical that he just released on October 3rd.
Oh.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye, Sarah.
Love you.
All right, everybody. Love you all, and we'll see each other next week.
Yeah. Love you all.
Okay, thanks.
Love you all.
All right.
Much
Bye-bye.
love. Bye.
Thank you.